Ancient history rears its head when an evil king wakes from a long slumber. If he succeeds, Rudolph could lose his shiny nose, Frosty and family could melt, Santa could lose Christmas, Ethel Merman could lose her circus, and the world could plunge into an eternal winter. Happy Christmas in July! Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to the Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everyone.
And it's a special holiday episode in an odd time of the year, if you're listening to it when it came out.
Yeah.
If you're listening to it at Christmas, then it's perfect.
Yeah, if you're listening to us live, because of course,
Yeah.
every podcast we do is live when you hear it.
That's right.
So it'll depend on you, really.
Yeah.
But I think it's always nice to celebrate holidays, especially maybe the granddaddy of them all, Christmas.
Right. In July.
Yeah, Christmas in July is something else. Is the Christmas in July an annual tradition in your household?
No, I kind of wish it were.
Maybe it might become one now.
I think of it more as the most commercialized aspect of Christmas.
You don't think there's a strong spiritual and social need for Christmas in July, it sounds like.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there might be something on one of the church calendars where there's something important going on in July. You don't hear about it a lot.
Yeah.
You know, in the United States, July 4th is important for other reasons, cultural reasons, political reasons. But, I don't know that Christmas in July, unless, as this special we're going to talk about hints, that they actually celebrate Christmas in July in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Everything is reversed.
Yeah, in a way, it is a bit of overkill. We here in the United States, we have a big holiday already, 4th of July, and we have plenty of celebrations associated with that. And I guess you could say that Christmas already encroaches on November. I mean, Thanksgiving itself is almost like little Christmas now.
Yeah.
January, a lot of it is spent, kind of the post-Christmas hangover.
Right.
So in a way, it's a little concerning that Christmas starts to encroach in a month of the year like July, which is about as far away time-wise as you can get.
Well, I know people, my brother, who's trying to find a way to have a official day off work kind of holiday every month of the year, because there are certain times of the year where there are long gaps, the February to Memorial Day gap. Oh, yeah. Some of us experience longer gaps. But so, of course, July already has its holiday. I think if people want to celebrate Christmas in July, or Hanukkah in July, or any holiday in July, go ahead. If retail outlets would like to put stuff on sale for a reason besides the independence of our country, sure. Even if there are potential deadly consequences to it from this special, in the end, it all works out.
So I guess we should talk about what special it is we're going to cover today. But before we do that, I'd like to give a shout out to two of our listeners and a friend of the show, James, and his daughter, Lucille. And she happens to be in our coveted 2 to 11-year-old demographic, Mike. And I know that they both bought T-shirts from our new Battle of the Network shows store at TeePublic. And I want to thank them very much for supporting us by getting the T-shirts and for listening to the show. And also, Lucille happened to make a suggestion for a show that we can cover in the future. And I think we're pretty much booked for this season, Mike, but although we're going to keep it kayfabe for now, I thought it was an excellent suggestion, one that was on our radar anyway, and I think we're going to do it in the future, definitely for next season. That sound good?
Sounds good to me. It's a very good suggestion, and I look forward to talking about it. I think it's something, that's been on our long list for a while, too, so good to be motivated, especially by a 2 to 11-year-old.
Yes, we love hearing from our 2 to 11-year-old demo. I've often said, Mike, that Madison Avenue underestimates the purchasing power of that demographic.
They really do. They have sources of income that we don't think about.
They do. They've got your lemonade stands.
Mm-hmm. Popsicle stands. Anyway, it's good to see our 2 to 11-year-olds expressing themselves with their pocketbook and their opinions.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's real intensity right there, but in a good way. That's the kind of fandom we really like here.
That's right. They can't vote yet,
No,
but they can vote with the money and with ideas.
yeah. The marketplace of ideas is perhaps the best marketplace of all.
And they can probably maybe vote in the elementary school election or something.
Sure. Yeah, those are always highly contested. And
Yes.
a good place to develop citizenship skills.
Yeah. I once was vice president of my second grade class.
Oh, really? Oh, congratulations.
I believe I promised hot dogs every day
Ooh. Now,
in the cafeteria.
how did
Something
that
I
go?
had no power because it was just our class. It wasn't the second grade class in the way would say the senior class. It was the 30 kids,
Okay, yeah.
and I was only the vice president.
Well, that's big though. I mean, because if the president gets chicken pox, then
Yeah.
you take over.
Exactly, yeah.
The duties of that president.
Right? Yeah.
That's a big responsibility.
I believe we had foil and cardboard badges that we wore, like medals.
Very nice.
Well, I kind of wish our presidents wore junk like that.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had
Sashes.
cardboard medals and badges at our merchandise store, but I don't think we do yet.
No, I don't think that's an option.
We do have T-shirts and mugs and
Right.
magnets, stickers, all kinds of stuff, though. So
Yep. Yep.
if you'd like to support the podcast, thanks again, James and Lucille, for the support and for the excellent show request. And we'll get on that very soon. But you guys know what it is, but everybody else, it'll be a good episode coming.
Now, the special we're talking about today is our return after many, many seasons to the world of Rankin-Bass.
Yes, one of the best worlds out there.
And I would dare say a special that tries to take the disparate worlds of some of their Christmas specials and combine them into one world.
It does. Very well put, and I believe it succeeds.
I think so, yeah.
This is one of the earliest examples of a really good shared universe concept. I think kind of harkening back to The Man Who Hated Laughter did something similar, but I think this might even do that a little bit well as far as the cohesion and tying everything together.
Well, and it uses the time-honored comic book tool of retroactive continuity.
Yes, it
A
does.
retcon to really bring it together. So, they don't explain everything and put everything together, but they put a lot.
They sure do, yeah.
So you could call it Crisis on Infinite Rankin-Bass's Christmas Universes.
Yes, you could. I think we'll work on that, but
It's a little unwieldy.
I definitely want to call it that.
Yeah.
We'll figure out a way to make it work. Yeah, Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July. This is kind of a revelation for me. I didn't watch this one, I don't think, growing up. I was vaguely familiar with the title, and I thought I had seen it, but once I actually got into it, I didn't remember most of it at all. I think I remembered some images from it, but I don't think this is, it was definitely not a tradition in my house.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember seeing it as a kid, but that doesn't mean I didn't. I seem to remember seeing it one year on Family Channel, ABC Family, whatever, that, the 24 Days of Christmas kind of thing. And definitely being surprised, or somewhere like that, somewhere just a random time in the afternoon. And because, one of the standout elements involves Frosty appearing in stop motion rather than your standard cell animation.
Right.
So that jumped out at me. Why is he walking around
Yeah.
in 3 dimensions like that? And he's hanging out with Rudolph. It's amazing.
And he makes the transition quite well, I gotta say. It proves what a versatile performer he is.
Yes, he
I
does.
was very impressed.
And I think we'll get into it more, but he shows some character development. Yeah, I haven't seen the second special of his in a long time where he gets married.
That's Winter Wonderland, I think.
I think.
Yeah, where he meets Crystal and
Yeah, and I don't know where the kids came from. I'm not going to speculate on that.
yeah.
I'm more concerned about speculating on what it is they eat for dinner.
Yeah.
But I'm less familiar with her. But it seems like, the Frosty and this Frosty, they're the same but a little different. He's a little more serious.
I think so, yeah. And that might be partly a function of 22-minute or 24-minute special versus a hour and a half plus
Yes.
epic movie.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're right on the mark. There's more to the character of Frosty in this special. But I have no problem seeing them as the same character. I'm actually kind of wondering now as I go back and watch other Rankin-Bass shows this Christmas, how this is going to affect my viewing of them, because it is the kind of thing that sort of makes you look at them a little differently because of the retconning and the unification of all of them.
Yeah, it fills in gaps. And will some of these extra little things that we learn about Rudolph be playing in your mind while you're watching Rudolph?
Right. And I love that they did this, because I think we all wanted to think that that this was a shared universe and that they did all exist. The one holdout, it might have been toughest to reconcile Frosty being in there because, like you said, he was in like a traditional animation special originally. So this really brings him into that, and it's just it's unfortunate. I kind of feel like this should be more of a annual tradition. I don't think this special's gotten its due over the years.
No, I don't think so. And I don't know about your copy, but the one on mine, which was a DVD, was not in great condition.
No, it wasn't on mine either. And
I read that version is out of sync. I didn't notice that, or at least one DVD version is slightly out of sync. But I mean, it didn't look good, and it had like frame pops and things like that. And
yeah, well, we could do a whole episode talking about the variations of these Rankin-Bass specials on DVD and the different releases. But so I won't get into that. But I watched a version on one of the Santa's Magical Stories sets, and the movie itself was not even on the main menu. It was a bonus feature.
Whoa!
I mean, for one thing, having a feature-length movie as a bonus feature is kind of funny to begin with, but when I put the disc in, at first I was taken aback because I didn't see it. I'm like, wait a minute, did I grab the wrong disc from this set? And then no, I went to the extras and it's listed as a bonus feature, basically. Like, what? I mean, talk about disrespect.
Yeah.
I mean, and as you said it, or as you talked about it being shown on ABC Family, I think this deserves more than just being filler with the likes of, dare I say, Leprechaun's Christmas Gold.
Mm-hmm.
Deserves more than being Rankin-Bass filler in a marathon of Christmas programming. I don't know if I'm going to watch this every year, but I think I'll watch it again.
Yeah. Well, and as far as the Rudolph specials go, I would rank it second.
You're even going to put this ahead of Rudolph's Shiny New Year?
I'm definitely going to put this ahead of Rudolph's Shiny New Year. Even though this movie expects people to have seen Rudolph's Shiny New Year.
Yes, it does. Well, I think this is a solid addition to the Rankin-Bass pantheon, and yeah, I think. I mean, we'll get into it. I do think, I'll say it up front, it's a little long. It could be a little bit shorter. I really do. I think like there's a sweet spot with these Rankin-Bass specials, like the 50-minute range, like a little bit less than an hour with commercials. I think that's probably perfect. It loses a little bit of the magic in general, I think, this style, the longer it goes. That said, I still think it's a good movie. I think it's disrespected a little bit. I was watching it with friend of the show and friend of me, Lori, and I got the impression that she wasn't that high on it. And I plan to pursue that later. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I did. I enjoyed lots of it. Yeah, it did. I agree. It's a little long, but I think it may be one of the most ambitious ones in terms of the animation. I mean, there's some things like the circus audience, and well, just the circus in general. There's just a ton of like individual characters and choreography in one scene.
Oh yeah, and there's even just little things like some of the camera effects, and like it's cinematic in a way that you might not expect, but I think it's very well produced. And there's a host of original songs.
Yeah,
there's a lot of production value into this. I'm just curious. The one thing I don't know is I'm assuming that it wasn't a blockbuster in the ratings, or else it would have been a perennial. But I'm kind of curious why it didn't become a perennial holiday movie on ABC or anywhere.
Right. People weren't ready for a shared universe yet.
That may be it. Yeah. Just that concept maybe was a little too much for people at the time.
Right, especially since that was airing on ABC and Rudolph was probably airing on CBS. And
yeah, that's an interesting quirk of this. And I don't even know if we've really mentioned yet, but of course Santa Claus is in this too.
Yes.
I mean, the Christmas icon, and it's so cool to see him in this universe with Frosty and Snowman and just kind of have all together. And this really sort of indicates that they're kind of like pals, you know, which I really like.
I believe Rudolph refers to Frosty as his best friend.
Yeah, he does. Yes.
Yeah. That's something, because you forget the sort of sad underpinnings to Rudolph. Mm-hmm. Because everyone ends up loving him. He's still got that in him, that feeling of being a misfit. And so it's good that he finds another misfit.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope Hermie's still one of his friends, too.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. And he does not show up in this one.
No. I mean, he's probably not. He's busy doing his dentistry.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
He doesn't quite have the time
that
other people have.
July's probably a big month for him. You know, you got kids getting teeth chipped at the pool or at amusement parks, that kind of thing.
Right.
People, you know, getting some elective surgery done before they go on their big vacation.
Abominable having his annual checkup.
Of course, yeah.
My dentist actually, they shut down for 2 weeks in July.
Oh, wow. Did he go to the North Pole?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I don't know where they go. I just know they shut down every July.
Well, that's hard luck for people that have dental emergencies. I guess go easy on that corn on the cob at your 4th of July picnic.
Exactly. I kind of wish the dentist sent an email to everyone saying that.
Yeah.
Go easy on the corner of the cob. I'm not here.
Right. And enough with this trend of mouth fireworks, you know.
Yes.
It's bad enough already, but especially this time of year, one of the biggest threats to dental health.
And of course, everyone's favorite tradition of making and then eating rock candy.
Oh, yes.
What a great 4th of July tradition that is.
Yeah, rock candy.
Rock candy.
Getting all together, making a big vat of rock candy and watching it harden.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. You got conflicting holidays because I'm in a Christmas mind. I'm also in a 4th of July mind, but hopefully these holiday sensibilities will mesh together for me the way everything meshed together so well in this special. And some new characters, too, that we'll meet along the way.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. There's just lots of stuff.
It is.
In fact, we should probably get into it because this is maybe one of the most plot-heavy Rankin-Bass things ever.
Which is, in a way, saying something.
It's staggering, yes. But might I point out when this aired?
Yes, please.
I may, yes, okay. So this premiered, Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July premiered November 25th, 1979. And that was actually a few days after Thanksgiving that year. So Thanksgiving fell early, on the early side. So this was the first Sunday after Thanksgiving. So I guess part of the extended holiday weekend. So in a way, maybe ABC was kind of kicking off the Christmas season by showing this. It wasn't December, but Thanksgiving weekend is Christmassy, and you get geared up, so that makes sense. So, and there's a little bit of irregularity, I thought, with this, but I'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, on the other network, CBS, which, as we know, was the traditional home of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for years and Frosty the Snowman, they didn't have Christmas programming. They had 60 Minutes, followed by an episode of Archie Bunker's Place called Barney and the Hooker. And, for our 2 to 11-year-old demographic, that means Barney was into fishing in that episode. And Archie helped him, There was somebody in the bar who Barney didn't realize was a great fisherwoman, and Archie kind of had to get in there.
Yeah. Do we know who played Barney?
That was Alan Melvin, I believe.
Okay. I knew it was either him or Balsam.
Oh, Martin Balsam. Yeah,
right?
I think Barney was the Alan Melvin, the great Alan Melvin. One Day at a Time followed that, and then a movie presentation of Oh God with George Burns.
Oh, yeah.
From, I guess, a couple of years earlier. NBC had The Wonderful World of Disney, and it was a 1957 episode of Disneyland called Duck for Hire with Donald Duck, like threatening to quit Hollywood and stuff like that. So, yeah, quite an adventure there.
I want to see that.
Yeah, followed by Smokey and the Bandit, the movie, and Primetime Sunday, just like a news magazine show. So ABC, now this is what confused me. I was a little vexed by this because we've mentioned the running time, I think 97 minutes officially, according to multiple sources. So at 7 o'clock was Christmas in July, but at 8:30 was Mork and Mindy. And then at 9 o'clock was a TV movie called, and you can please read this to yourselves in your best Ernie Anderson voice, because the name of the movie is When She Was Bad. Even with an ellipses at the end of it, I think is part of the official title, with Robert Urich and Cheryl Ladd. Robert Urich and Cheryl Ladd in When She Was Bad.
I definitely, I hope it's out there, and I hope you find it. The promo that includes all of those things.
Yes.
It's Christmas in July, and then Mork and Mindy. Yeah. When She Was Bad.
Yeah, then. But what I didn't understand was how this long movie could be squeezed into an hour-and-a-half time slot. And I verified Mork and Mindy did premiere, and it was actually kind of an infamous episode of Mork and Mindy. It was one where he tried out for the Denver Broncos cheerleaders, and apparently Robin Williams hated the episode. And I think there was a lot of press photos because they taped it during, I think, an actual Denver Broncos game or something. So it was a notable episode that premiered, and I was frustrated in my search. I was trying to verify that Mork and Mindy, which I think was usually like an 8 o'clock show at that time, it got bumped a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that it actually did air. Apparently it did air, and Christmas in July was in this hour-and-a-half time slot, which means it must have been edited down pretty heavily from the version we saw. And so then I did a little more digging, and the next year or two, it was on Canadian television in a 2-hour time slot. So I think it aired complete up there, and even I saw a listing in Australia. And then the next time it showed up was I think 1983. And can you guess where it turned up next? What network showed it next?
NBC.
No, good guess, but it was HBO. So yes, HBO, I think either in 83 or 84 added it as a seasonal special for their paid customers.
I'm sure they could show the 97-minute.
Oh, yeah. They probably encouraged them. They probably said, hey, have you got any extra footage lying around? Because otherwise we're going to have 15 minutes of video jukebox with Supertramp videos or whatever.
Oh, we've got footage. We've even got a blooper reel. I don't know how that would work. But yeah, and I don't know if you had more to say about that, but I saw at least one source saying that overseas this premiered in theaters in July.
That's
I don't
pretty
know
cool.
if it was July of 79 or 80, and that it did not do well.
People just didn't want to see a Christmas movie in July, huh?
No, and probably, someone in Spain isn't that interested in a Christmas movie in July centered vaguely around an America-only holiday.
Yeah. Well, it would have been nice to see them get a little bit more return on their investment, Rankin-Bass, because they put a lot into this.
They did, yeah.
I can't blame them for giving it a go. But yeah, maybe there was some kind of, they were already planning a theatrical release, and that's why maybe ABC just had the rights to do it one year.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Rankin-Bass's decision. Hey, we're not going to give you rerun rights to this. We're going to shop this around and make it a blockbuster.
Yeah, which, is a phenomenon of that time that I think is going to come up again later in the season, of American TV shows airing elsewhere or showing up elsewhere as theatrical movies.
Yeah, there's a very strong possibility that we'll be talking about that again.
Yeah, which is odd.
Yeah.
And yet it doesn't, in a way, it seems to make sense because we know now how important the worldwide market is to movies.
Right.
And you think about, like, when you hear about Cannes or Cannes, at first you think it's, the epitome of cinema and all this. And then you learn a little more and it's like just a marketplace for schlock.
Yeah.
Like Canon was, would go there and sell all these ideas for movies that, like, they just had a poster.
Right. You're talking about the studio, not Detective Frank Cannon.
Right, yeah. He might have done that too.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's like they're not like shows like MASH or, All in the Family.
Right.
They're failed shows or shows that didn't make it being cobbled together.
Right, yeah.
Or like pilots that didn't sell, turned into like a 90-minute movie to try to get some of that stuff back. So, yeah. Well, we know that it aired November 1979 and it did not stick, I guess, as a perennial, but there's still value in it. I'm only assuming that it didn't do all that well up against, maybe that Sunday night CBS lineup was a little formidable, but I would think that a lot of families would have been in the mood to watch some holiday stuff.
Who wants to watch 60 Minutes? Wait, that did air that week,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, right against.
But who wants to watch that the weekend after Thanksgiving?
Yeah, now I can understand. That's an interesting battle between this vintage Donald Duck special and Rudolph and Frosty. That's a tough choice for a kid or anyone to make Sunday at 7 o'clock. But
And Mork and Mindy kind of tanked on Sundays too, right?
yeah, that's right. This was, I guess, its second year, maybe. So it had been moved from Thursday, where it did really well. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an 8 o'clock show. And this is an example of relatively early in the season it getting bumped for this big episode of the Denver Broncos getting bumped out of its regular time slot.
And did you know that in that period when that shows in the 7 o'clock time period had to have a certain amount of educational material?
No, I don't. As a matter of fact, it's kind of complicated because I think it was the early 70s when local stations got back the 7 o'clock during the week. Originally, like from 7:30 on was, for a long time, 7:30 was a network slot too. And I think it was, I don't know for sure.
I don't know when that would have gone away, but I was reading about another show mentioned that at times when it aired at 7 o'clock that they had to add in, make sure it hit a certain, like, one educational fact per segment or something.
Okay.
I don't know if this it's hit that.
I wish 60 Minutes had done that with, like, instead of assuming that news was educational, just having Mike Wallace come in with, like, math tips.
Right.
Morally safer with with the Canadian History Minute.
Yeah.
And Andy Rooney,
Rooney,
just asking, like, what's the deal with cafeteria food at school?
Right, yeah. Holding up like a soggy piece of pizza.
Right.
They call this pizza. I call it soup.
Yes.
We had a name for this in the Navy.
I'm going to guess that a lot of this stuff went away in the early 80s.
Yeah.
The early to mid 1980s. As many things went away.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into this here.
Yeah, we got a wild ride.
We do. So it begins James Bond style.
It does, yes. I hadn't made that connection, but
with
you're
a
right.
Teaser.
Yeah.
in which we see Frosty and his children, Millie and Chili. I'm a little bothered that Millie doesn't get a cool name. Like, why doesn't she have a winter-like name?
That's a good point. You got Frosty, Crystal.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal's even a little iffy, but...
Yeah. Millie, maybe it's short for something wintry. Millicent, I don't know.
Millimeter of snow.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Good point, though.
They're cute little snow children, though. And, and Rudolph's hanging out with them, and the kids want him to light up his nose, and he does, and then it starts to like short out, and then briefly like some like winter weather comes in. I assumed there was going to be some like blizzard or something, but that was just a bit of artifice for the credits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then we get the opening credits, and it's quite a cast. We have Red Buttons,
Mm-hmm.
who we'll find out plays Milton, the ice cream man, purveyor of ice cream. He's not made out of ice cream.
Right.
I wouldn't put it past this to have a man made of ice
Yeah, I
cream.
would not have been surprised at all.
Ethel Merman as Lily, or Lillian. Our favorite, the Mixter, the Santa Claus, of course. Alan Suez, or Suez,
I think Sue's,
Suze.
from Laugh-In.
as Scratcher. Jackie Vernon, of course, as Frosty. Shelley Winters as Crystal. Now, in some specials, she also has played Mrs. Claus, I believe, right? Or no, Shirley Booth.
Yeah, you think of Shirley Booth, I think, yeah.
I apologize to both of them.
That's quite all right. On their behalf, I accept. I think Shelley she was the original Crystal as well.
Yeah, okay.
In Frosty's Winter Wonderland, yeah.
So these are all the top billed people.
Mm-hmm.
Notice, except for Jackie Vernon, none of them are the main characters.
Yes, or in most things, and actually, kind of, I think I said this out loud when his credit came up, and as everybody else,
Right.
Paul Frees. But this is a special where that's actually not the case.
Yeah, I think I only caught 2 voices.
Yeah, they cast a pretty wide net
Yeah.
for the voices here, so he didn't have to do quadruple duty as usual.
So his main character is Winterbolt, the villain of the piece, and then Billy Richards as Rudolph. So I mean, I understand it's Hollywood and everything, but those 2 should be at the top of the list.
You're right.
I mean, she's the star. It's Rudolph and Frosty's
Yeah.
Christmas in July, not Ethel Merman's Christmas.
It's
in
kind of
July.
like if you had Josh Brolin top billed in Avengers Endgame,
Yeah.
and Iron Man and Captain America were reduced to
Right.
Way down the
featured
bill.
players.
Yeah.
And Hal Perry, I didn't write down and Shelby Flint, I didn't write down who they played.
Oh,
And then
yes. Hal.
Don Messick was Sam Spangles.
Yes, Hal was the Great Gildersleeve for years, and he's Big Ben the Whale,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
who I really forgot that he was coming because I'd seen
Yes.
him in the cast, but I totally forgot him until he shows up pretty far into the movie.
Right. What was the Great Gildersleeve? Didn't he have like a catch?
He was kind of almost not quite Frank Nelson, but he had
Yes.
I can't do it, but he had that distinctive way of talking. He was kind of a schemer, mostly a radio character.
So, and it's a Rankin-Bass special, so written by Romeo Mueller. So songs by the guy who wrote Rudolph.
Yeah, Johnny Mercer. No, not Johnny Mercer.
Not Johnny Mercer. No.
Guy who wrote Rudolph.
Yeah, the guy who wrote Rudolph, and then of course credit for the people who wrote Frosty.
Yeah.
And a couple of reprises of songs from other specials and things. But well, as we said, a lot of original songs too.
Yeah, and the classics, don't you get the feeling nowadays, because you have if you were trying to bring characters who were based on beloved songs, that there'd be a big hassle in clearing the music and everything, which is why it's cool that you actually get to hear most of those famous songs that you'd expect to hear. I don't know if you get one of the real Santa Claus songs. He is got kind of a minor. Doesn't have a lot of screen time, but you do get to hear Rudolph and Frosty, which is good. You need to hear that.
Yeah, and then we're just a couple of misfits.
Yeah,
from
that's
Rudolph.
right.
And so there we go. And of course, directed and produced by Rankin-Bass.
Mm-hmm.
So then Santa, this is where things really start to already get complicated, I think. Santa is narrating from sometime in the future of the scene we just saw, which I guess is the present.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you kind of get the feeling that it's going to be these other narrators where Santa will be a recurring narrator throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen.
No, it happens a couple times and then it's done.
Yeah, yeah.
But he explains to us this big, kind of long, ancient history of the North Pole that dates way back before him even.
Yeah, I guess this is the educational part of the movie, Mike.
Yes.
Because I had no idea that this is how the North Pole got created.
No, it's like it's like King Arthur. It's so
Yeah.
far back you can't tell when it was.
Yeah, it was a real education for me. I didn't know any of this.
Yeah. So it used to be that the North Pole was ruled by the magical king of the North Pole, Winterbolt, who looks a lot like the Winter Warlock from Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's voiced by Paul Frees, sounds a lot like the Winter Warlock. But he's not the Winter Warlock. He's mean. There's no chance of redemption, I don't think, for this guy.
Not that we see, no.
He's much meaner. So he is a scepter of solid ice, and he uses it to drive away all the animals and the elves and things and just make it miserable. He's got a couple snow dragons that breathe ice and fog, and he lives in a big ice castle cave thing. And so one day, Lady Boreal, the queen of the Northern Lights, takes human form in order to stop him. And she uses most of her magic to put him in a slumber. But once her magic runs out, he'll wake up again. So of course, this took a lot out of her. But in the meantime, the animals return, and then eventually some elves, and then Santa and Mrs. Claus and the Kringle elves, all from Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and new footage, but it's similar to stuff that appeared in that, show up to make Santa's castle, where he'll fulfill his mission of giving the toys and all that. And then somewhere down the line, Lady Boreal realizes that she's fading, and Winterbolt wakes up, and he has a crystal ball thing, and he sees Santa, and he's getting caught up on everything that's happened since he was asleep, and declares, I must rid the Northlands of this ho-ho-hoing creature and his flock of Christmas interlopers.
I kind of like that phrase.
I
Christmas
love that phrase.
interlopers.
Yes, I don't know what that...
I think this was the point in the story where I really accepted Winterbolt and was not as distracted by the fact that he did so much resemble the Warlock character. And I really embraced this guy as the main villain in this.
And they say that you need to know what your characters want. And we know what he wants. Although he continues to then want more as things progress.
He does stack his desires a little bit throughout this, yeah.
But he's got to start, and he then talks to the genie of the ice scepter, which is like a wall of ice that explains to him, sort of like the wicked stepmother's mirror, that Santa's power comes from children's love, and so Winterbolt decides that he will create a storm so that Santa gets lost and can't deliver packages or gifts, and then Winterbolt will do that, and everyone will love him, and eventually he'll take over the world.
Yeah.
And this is where the retconning starts, I think, because we learn, this is the storm that Rudolph guided the sleigh through.
Yep.
And the Lady Boreal gave the last of her magic to Rudolph. That's why his nose burns so bright, because he's got the power of the Northern Lights in his nose. But there are rules.
Yeah.
Which is, he can only use it for good. He just needs to think of something happy, which I don't think is how his nose works in the original special. But
bit of a stretch, but yeah.
If he ever uses it for evil once, that's it. He loses that power. And he loses his magic birthmark on his hoof.
Yeah, and I had a big problem with this part of the special because we see her explaining the rules to an infant Rudolph.
Yeah, and explaining it in a very, complex way. Like asking him all these sort of rhetorical questions. Or, will it last forever, you say? No, he's a baby. He didn't say anything.
It certainly is. It's a heavy speech and a heavy burden to put on somebody that's just been born. I was watching that thinking, I hope it's like Superman, where, at least Jor-El gives him some, leaves some crystals laying around. So in the future, he can plunk those in and relive what Jor-El said to him. But how is Rudolph going to remember this? And in fact, we learn later on that he's a little foggy on it, and who can blame him?
Yeah. He does. Now, my other thing with Lady Boreal was, I'd seen Ethel Merman's name in the credits. So every time a woman character showed up with a kind of deep voice, I thought, oh, it's Ethel Merman. And I thought, that's terrible casting for the Queen of the Northern Lights. But then
really
it wasn't.
Anxious for some Ethel Merman.
I'm just curious. Well, what? That's unique casting already. So how is that going to play out? That said, I don't know if the voice and the puppet worked entirely together. But who am I to question the Queen of the Northern Lights?
Well, you're taking a risk. It seems like she had a plan. I could question the execution of this, but I guess it more or less works out later. But it didn't sit right with me. Other than that, I didn't really so much mind the retconning.
No, I mean, I didn't need an explanation for his nose, but it's not a bad explanation. It's Christmas magic. I mean, it fits.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of this whole Rankin-Bass mythology is based on taking existing things like songs and coming up with backstories for them. So
yeah,
I guess this kind of fits right into that tradition.
Yeah, taking a 3-minute song and making a 50-minute special.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and they show a montage of clips from the original special. So somehow this little moment fits right in between what we see in the special.
Yes, it does.
Like maybe you could, I'm sure, someone with more time on their hands could cut those together, make an ultimate supercut of all of these.
Zack Snyder? Are you suggesting that Zack Snyder should...
Not Zack Snyder, although those dragons do. There's slow motion in this one. Just someone who has a hobby of doing that.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
Because, Zack Snyder's might end up with people getting beheaded or something.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't fit in real well here.
So then Santa explains all that, and then we go back to the main timeline of the story. And we see that Rudolph's nose was flickering because Winterbolt cast a spell on him, but then, Rudolph fights back and he's able to overcome that problem, which befuddles Winterbolt. And the genie explains that he can't defeat him in the north. There's too much of the queen's magic still in the north, I guess. Then a hot air balloon appears, and this is where Red Buttons as Milton the Flying Ice Cream Man shows up, and he stores his ice cream in the North Pole and then comes and gets some, take down to the shore for the 4th of July.
That didn't seem like the most efficient business model, but if it works for him, it works for him. You'd think, much like Kramer and Newman, he'd blow out his margins on the transportation, but I guess it works.
Hot air doesn't cost them much, right?
True.
Although it does, you can see why Lillian is a little suspicious of as far as a potential son-in-law because of that bad business plan.
Right.
Then again, this seems to take place in some sort of like turn of the century America, don't you think? Like,
yeah. When you see like Main Street type scenarios later when they do the parades.
So, a balloon might have been the best way to get to the North Pole in 1902.
That's quite possible.
I don't know if they had a train, although, well, maybe we shouldn't get into that. There is a train to the North Pole because Frosty takes it.
Yeah.
That's how he got there. He kidnapped a child and went to the North Pole.
Yeah, and laying railroad track all the way to the North Pole was a heck of an endeavor too. I like thinking that this was some kind of turn of the century thing because that explains away one of my biggest disappointments with this special. Late 70s ABC, yet Henry Winkler is nowhere to be found in this hot air balloon. But maybe the timeline didn't work out for it.
Right, yeah.
I would have loved to have seen him though, but
He just popped up.
yeah, give him the thumbs up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorite lines was so the balloon's setting down and Rudolph's like, oh, he's a million laughs, and then Crystal calls Frosty and the kids to dinner, and Frosty's like, oh, I can. Rudolph told me I gotta meet this guy. He's a million laughs.
He's like so matter of factly about it too.
Yeah. That just seems like, I don't know, it seems like something guys would say in sitcoms like in that period, or even like on the Flintstones or the Honeymooners or something.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be home for dinner. I got to meet this guy. He's worth a million laughs.
This Joe Rockhead. He's a real riot.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And I was thinking at the time, like, well, dinner? What snow people eat for dinner? But they did do a whole run of jokes then, like, oh, your dinner will get warm, and oh, you can just cool it off in the snow, the snow oven or whatever.
Yeah.
But I still don't know what they eat.
I would like some more detail on that, but I guess it's good to have a little mystery.
Did they just eat more snow?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, did they eat ice cream?
Right. If a snowman makes yellow snow?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's good that Rankin-Bass didn't explore every single aspect of this mythology.
Does a snowman snow in the woods?
I don't know, but I'll bet they could have made a 30-minute special out of it.
How the snowman went to dinner.
Yeah.
But we get some more backstory of what's going on. That Milton's all sad because he's in love with Lainey from the circus. Or Lady Lorraine. Yeah,
Lady Lorraine.
But he always calls her Lainey. So,
yeah.
Who's the daughter of Lily, who owns the circus, the Seaside Circus, and they're in dire straits financially, and if they don't make money from their big 4th of July show, then Sam Spangles will take over the circus and make everybody's lives miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And Lainey will be on the road forever, and they'll never be able to get together.
Right.
So Winterbolt sees an opportunity, and he uses his power to put an idea in Milton's head, which is that Rudolph can come join the circus, and that'll help give them the boost they need. Winterbolt wants him to do it, of course, because it'll draw him away from the North Pole.
Yeah.
The kids and Crystal want to go see a circus, but Frosty's a little hesitant because they'll melt. He doesn't really want to melt.
Yeah, I can't blame the guy for that.
No.
It's a legitimate concern.
But this is he's definitely a warrior in this special.
He's not quite carefree as he was before. Yeah.
He's, being a father changed him. I think.
It did. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
It's just me.
Yeah.
I'll melt, but can't let my family melt.
Yeah. He's mature. He's got responsibilities now, and I respect that.
Got a different magic hat.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same magic hat, but it looks different. He had it redone or something.
I think so, yeah.
And Crystal convinces him by singing him this love song, a vaguely like country music sort of love song. I don't know if you felt that way.
Country-ish? Hadn't picked up on that, but now that you mention it, that makes sense.
Like kind of like maybe like a Glenn Campbell sort of country, like countrypolitan or whatever they call it.
Yeah, that kind of era country. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that song gets repeated a few times by different people. But,
Yeah, that was a nice little musical motif they had going through. But yeah, it was nice.
And by the way, this special is guaranteed we're going to have a song category in the baddies.
Oh yeah, this one alone
Right.
is going to fill that out. And I do really like the fact that that's one thing that they do is they establish or reinforce that Crystal Frosty relationship. One of the big themes I think in this special is the genuine love they have for each other. I dare say it may be one of the best relationships in the whole Rankin-Bass universe. And that this in a special where we have Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus too.
Right, and they have a couple of very nice scenes together too.
Right. Yeah, I really buy into that relationship, and I think this helps reinforce for me that Crystal is a permanent part of the whole Frosty saga.
Yeah. Is there a debate raging out there?
I don't know that there is, but
People, no.
I'm ready to dive in if there is one.
Frosty should always be single. You can't make good Frosty stories if he's got a wife. Kids? What?
That's a total myth. Total myth. He didn't lose his edge as we've demonstrated. In fact, he gains more dimension, and it expands the amount of stories you can tell with Frosty.
That's right. So, Winterbolt appears. Now, when Santa's telling us his story, he doesn't know anything about Winterbolt. He apparently learned it later. So no one knows who he is. He just shows up and he says, I'm a magical fairy godfather or something. And he makes these special amulets that have 4 F's on them. And Frosty, oh, you're right. F, 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 F.
Yeah.
Which means that they will only last until the final firework of the 4th of July fades.
Yes.
Right. So it's still, it makes things weird. And Frosty's later, he's disappointed that the kids won't get to see the fireworks. They'll get to see the circus, but not fireworks. And Santa's thinking about it, and Winterbolt sends a message to his brain, and he says he'll fly down and pick them up. Seems okay.
What could go wrong there?
Yeah. And they'll fly away as the fireworks are going, so they'll see them from the sky, but they'll be safe and they won't melt.
Maybe the best way to see the fireworks.
And then we finally get to see the circus, which is very circusy. There are clowns, there are animals, there's giraffes with neckties, and all sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Again, another kind of throw into old-time Americana, the importance of the circus in this story.
That's right. This seems like a fixed circus.
Yeah, like...
It's a seaside circus.
So I guess they're dependent on tourist trade?
I guess, but they're setting up, so...
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes they're not a seaside circus.
No. I mean, you kind of get it almost implies that they only do like 1 or 2 shows a year.
Yeah.
And that they rely on the proceeds from that to sustain them for, maybe they do tours as well the rest of the year. I don't know.
That doesn't seem like a good model either.
No. And she would be on the road anyway, so why would, I don't know about that.
I could see if they were open like the whole, like Memorial Day to Labor Day season.
Yeah.
Like a lot of, like Jersey Shore, a lot of the, whatever, custard stands and stuff are open for that period, and then they're closed the rest of the year.
That makes sense.
Because they can make all their money. There's a lot going on here. They don't have time to explain the business models of everything. But
they would have to bump yet another episode of Mork and Mindy probably
yes.
in order to get into all this.
Right. So that's already the special on business models.
Mm-hmm.
And then a special on the dietary issues of snowmen.
Yes.
Snow people. But we learn that Lily doesn't really think much of Milton, but then he tells her this plan and with Rudolph and Frosty, and she's excited about Christmas in July, and that she's Ethel Merman, of course, and she sings a big brassy song about Christmas in July.
She does, and I enjoyed this. It's exactly what you'd want from an Ethel Merman song.
Yes, except for no disco.
No, unfortunately, no disco.
And then Winterbolt is hatching the next part of his plan, and he needs a bizarro Rudolph. A Rudolph who's mean and selfish and uncaring and all of that. So the genie tells him to go beyond the forest of the burned Christmas trees and the hill of the broken baubles to the caves of lost rejections. Who knew?
Yeah.
That the North Pole had all these dark corners.
Yeah. What an epic journey that sounds like, too.
Yeah.
Man.
In a way, it's more epic than, Will Ferrell's journey in Elf through the candy cane forest.
I think you're right. Yes. It certainly is.
So he goes to this, these caves, which are sort of, I don't know, it's like a seedy hotel, really. Goes to Cave 13, where he finds a deer called Scratcher, who looks a little hungry. He's kind of buck-toothed. He's voiced by this Alan Sue's guy in a slightly Paul Lynde manner. Or is that just the Alan Sue's voice? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much his voice.
Okay.
I think it might be a disservice. I think there's been some controversy about Alan Sue's and Paul Lynde similarities, maybe, but it's definitely like a seedy type character, and he's seen better days.
He claims that he was going to be on the reindeer team, and Rudolph stole his job.
Yeah, I didn't buy that for a minute, but then he kind of elaborates and
That he stole a bunch of stuff.
yeah.
Now, and they at least imply that, or he says later that Rudolph knew him back when, but again, that would be a retcon too.
Right.
Given how quickly Rudolph's story unfolds in that special.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he was one of those bratty kids at the reindeer lessons.
Well, that could be. That could be.
Yeah. Isn't there one with like blonde hair?
I think so, yeah.
Like a jerky one. So he wants him to go to the circus and lead Rudolph astray. And I think there's another Ethel Merman song.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was called. I just called it As Long As I Got My Guy. And it's kind of a hopeful song, but I didn't know who her guy was, although it's almost implied that Rudolph is going to be her guy because she's sort of singing to him, but maybe not in a romantic sense, but like he's going to save the circus.
Right, yeah.
With his, showmanship and his box office power.
And her character is dressed sort of like a cowgirl.
Yeah. Like Annie Oakley or something.
Yes, yeah. And she has guns and they shoot blanks, and she says yeehaw a lot.
She's a character. She's brassy.
Yes. And then we have Mrs. Claus and Santa, and they're packing, and they have a nice little scene about how much they love each other and everything. Oh, it's very sweet.
Yeah, this is the mixture playing old Santa.
Yes. Yeah, they seem very old in that scene.
Yeah.
In particular. We'll be dead in a few years, but...
Yeah.
My mixture it's not on. It's sounding to Jimmy Stewart.
It sounded pretty good to me.
Okay.
Like Twilight, mixture is Twilight Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like that scene in particular, it's a nice scene between the two of them, and I like quiet moments of them off season. It's nice. You don't see that very often.
Right. He makes it seem like he's a real pain. I know I'm hard to live with.
Yeah. Yeah. And she says something like, well, only the night before Christmas, only Christmas Eve or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm asleep the rest of the year.
He's pretty demanding, I guess.
But they go flying off, and there's this huge winter storm that, of course, Winterbolt stirs up again with his snow dragons. And they get sucked into like a vortex of...
A what?
It's like a swirling...
Oh, okay. I know what a vortex is, but
okay.
I thought, of course, that a lot of people out there wouldn't know what a vortex is.
Right, yeah. Especially our 2 to 11-year-olds.
Yes.
Like a snow tornado in this case.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. But it's going to be a problem with them getting to seashore on time.
It is, even for, Santa, who is usually pretty punctual and I imagine doesn't have problems getting anywhere. But I want to point out how sharp Santa Claus's outfit was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he had some awesome duds on.
Yeah. Does he wears something similar in the Year Without Santa Claus.
Yeah, I think the coloring was a little bit different maybe in this kind of outfit.
Yeah.
But I was really thinking I want an action figure of Santa Claus wearing these
street clothes.
Yeah, because I thought he looked really great.
Yeah.
And I think Mrs. Claus had a matching kind of deal too. But Santa in particular, I thought looked really snazzy.
He does. It shouldn't be surprising that he's a little bit of a dandy. I mean,
no.
Look at his main outfit.
Yeah, that's right.
Subtle, that's not.
Yeah, he knows the power of symbols and appearances.
Yeah.
So he put some care into his look.
Yeah.
Put some effort into it.
I hope I can look that good when I'm old. And continuing the theme of this season of my potential sartorial change. Middle age is going to be Rockford, and old age is going to be off-season Santa. So a fine, brightly colored suit when I'm out and about, and long johns and suspenders when I'm at home. And by the way, they wanted to get there in time for the circus parade. So they were going to get there early and be there for all the fun.
Yeah.
But they'll be lucky to get there in time for marshmallows.
Like, marshmallows. Yeah. This is the first real vacation they've had in years. But we do get to see, some of the parade, though. And the parade is really cool.
Yeah, I don't remember details, but it was a good, a lot of stuff going on.
I think there's a couple of scenes of parade. Lori was kind of mentioning, well, why would people go see it? They're giving away the whole act. And I was saying, well, it's kind of a tradition to, I didn't mean to, really sounded mansplaining there, didn't I? Even when telling this story, I didn't mean to be Cliff Clavin about it. But the idea was, it was a big marketing thing, the idea that you'd see the acts that, and then you'd pay to see them under the big top, but they'd do a display, so you get like a little taste of what you're going to see in the actual show. Now, in this one, though, in the parade, many times they're doing quite a bit. They're dancing around and juggling and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, wow, this actually is a pretty generous circus parade. They're giving away a lot of stuff for free.
You got to give away something to get. That's a saying, right?
Yeah.
You gotta
Something like
you
that.
gotta lose money to make money.
Yeah. That's Milton's business plan again.
He's selling ice cream, but I didn't see any money exchange hands.
No, that's another problem with Milton's business model, but
He just hands it out.
not much of a provider, I guess. He's a kind soul, though.
Yeah,
He'll be a good husband that way.
and he is doing that thing you see in like cartoon or TV ice cream things where they they just pull a fully made cone out of the cooler.
Right.
Are there holders in there?
Yeah, I don't know. Boy, I wish they could do that in real life. Because, every time I go to get ice cream, it looks like so cool and you envision having it in your hand. And then you actually go. And especially if you're with somebody else, it takes like forever, because they got to clean off the thing in between scoops. And then it takes forever. And then it takes a while for the person to actually find which bucket they need. And, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. That part's a real downer, too.
Somebody in front of you getting samples.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Milton does have it figured out. The more I think about it.
Yeah, maybe he just has one flavor.
Yeah.
Vanilla, you got it. But yeah, it's a cool parade, and then we go back to the storm, and they're in the eye of the storm now, so it's calm, and Santa sings a little love song to Mrs. Claus, and then she comes up with an idea that they go by ground, go below the storm.
Yeah.
It's going to be slow, but it's a good idea.
I was skeptical of that. I mean, maybe it was the only shot they had. And I guess it's not as potentially fatal as the air route was, but
Right.
I really had trouble envisioning how they were going to make up time on the ground.
Yeah,
And I turned out to be
she
right.
seemed more intent on just getting there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
And at least he took her advice. I mean,
he did.
the stereotype would be, I know where I'm going.
Yeah, her trying to get him to ask for directions.
Yeah.
They should have had a 5-minute scene of her trying, getting
I'm all
increasingly
turned around
frustrated.
here. Just go down and ask where south is.
Yeah.
I'll fly above the storm. You can't do that.
Well, I've got the benefit of hindsight too because I've seen how this special goes out. But I will say at the time I wasn't sure that was going to work. But they didn't have a lot of great options.
No, we had another Ethel Merman song. I mean, I guess if you hire Ethel Merman, might as well. Again, I was just so excited that she was singing that I didn't write down anything about the song. Okay. It was in the parade, right? Okay. Yeah. And in a back alley of generic seaside town, Scratcher and Sam Spangles meet up. And it seems like Sam Spangles, he just knows, this is my kind of guy.
Yeah, they do seem like kindred spirits.
Yeah.
Both shady.
And Sam Spangles, by the way, is much like Winter Warlock, looks a lot like, I want to say there's a character like him in The Year Without Santa Claus, but he also looks a little bit like the magician in Frosty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does
big mustache.
He does resemble him, yeah.
But it's a cool design, and he wears spangles.
I was kind of thinking of him a little bit like Jerboa Jump from Tennessee Tuxedo, because he kind of has that Sheldon Leonard voice and, kind of generally shady.
And I like later he keeps, whenever he visits a circus, he calls them jerks and creeps.
Yeah. He wants to get into this business desperately, but he has a total resentment for everybody involved with it.
Yeah. And it is cool to hear a Don Messick, of course, one of the classic Hanna-Barbera guys, and just hear one of those voices like the Joe Rockhead voice or whatever coming out of this puppet.
Right.
Hey, you creeps. And then back at the circus, Scratcher shows up and meets up with Rudolph and, takes advantage of his kindness to get a job. So Rudolph thinks he can hire him as a roustabout.
Yeah, they can always use a roustabout to help put things up and,
I love that they use that word.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's a circus job, but you just don't hear it a lot.
That's true, yeah.
And Winterbolt is flying down in his sleigh, and he's got snakes to guide his
rain
sleigh.
snakes. Yeah, those are pretty fearsome.
They are.
They're kind of intense for this special, I thought. Very creepy.
He's a little scary.
He is. Oh, yeah.
His
menacing.
place is scary. He's got that talking ice wall, dragons and snakes, and his speech to get them going. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now slink away, slink away, slink away all. Coming from Paul Frees, it's intense.
Yeah, it is.
Top of the porch is really not that intense, but
no. He sells it well, though.
Like to the top of the world, maybe, or something.
Yeah. Kind of contradicts the ambition that he's already displayed for taking over the world, now that you mention it, yeah.
Then we start getting to see the circus, which is, they got the big audience, they got the clowns, they have the little band playing, and they're playing we're just a couple of misfits while the clowns are out there. And then backstage, Scratcher's pulling stuff around in a wagon and kind of complaining. And he says that Lily told him to go get something from her office wagon, but that the lights don't work there. He's going to need Rudolph's help. And Rudolph's like, well, I got to go on.
Yeah. I mean, can it wait?
Yeah, and he seems a little nervous about performing.
Yeah.
So, but he says he'll do it later. And we see some more Santa on the ground and the winter bolt flying, and then a bit of Lorraine or Lainey on the high wire, the trapeze artist. She wobbles because she forgot her parasol.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that was part of the act. A little bit of theatricality.
Like her reaction, I mean, it's a puppet, I don't know. It seemed sincere.
It did, yeah.
But then, Lily's just, you got to write things down or whatever, ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that was
it's
part of
possible that everybody's off their game because of the stakes are so high here.
Oh, that could.
There was so much going on that you would, even though she's done that probably thousands of times, she did forget the essential prop.
Yes.
That helps her not plummet to her doom.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, and then Frosty and the family, they come out and they ride out on elephants, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like their act.
Yeah, and then they do some belly whopping.
Yeah.
Would you like to describe the belly whopping? Do you think you can describe?
Oh, you really kind of have to see it. I mean, it's kind of like sliding on your belly, but I think the landing is as important as the sliding. That's what was really impressive, maybe the targeted landing.
Yes, impressive, and it threw me off because the name belly whopping made me think they were going to land on their bellies.
Yeah.
Which, they're snowmen. It's fine. But Frosty lands on a little platform on his feet, and then Crystal lands on his shoulders, and the kids land on, I think, her shoulders, or one, or he catches one, or, the family pyramid.
Oh, yeah. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
You got a tight act for having relatively limited rehearsal time.
Yeah, I think they would get high scores at a cheerleading competition.
I agree with that. I think so.
I don't know where slides fall within the rules, but and they got the crowd excited, and then the band plays Rudolph's Cue, and they start playing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and there's a fog machine, and he lights up and burns off all the fog and does some flying around. It's impressive.
It's kind of cool. I'm very impressed with talk about production of Rankin-Bass. How about the production values of this circus?
Yeah.
Just the stagecraft. I mean, it goes to show you how Ethel Merman's character, what a pro she is. She's not cutting any corners, and they really have a lot of bells and whistles, which you kind of like to see at the circus for all these acts.
Yeah, and she was able to take these new performers and create a show around them, a Christmas in July show, really within a day.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a Christmas in July show planned.
No. And
right, yeah. Exactly, yeah. All for one, one for all. And meanwhile, outside, Sam Spangles dresses up as a cop. And then Rudolph joins Scratcher, and they go looking in the office for a suitcase. And Scratcher takes a pratfall and then asks Rudolph to pick up the case, which he does, but it's the money from the show. And Scratcher's like, oh, just give it to that cop. He's going to take it to the bank for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so Rudolph does. Even though he's starting to think this is a little weird. Cop looks weird.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten any direct confirmation on this from anybody. He's, a little naive.
But his gut's telling him. If he had listened to his gut.
Yeah.
Maybe he was confusing it with butterflies overperforming.
That's possible. Everything's like so rushed that people are forgetting things, and they're not quite all there. They don't have their radar's not up like it should be. So it's still sad to see, though.
And he's such a kind person, and dumb Scratcher's taking advantage of that. He knows he looks like he's starving, so he's going to use that to his advantage. It's sad. And then they have the finale of the circus show, which part of that involves a choir singing. I believe Millie and Chili are in that. And Milton comes out playing Santa. And elephants come out playing elves. And then there's the parade of toys, which includes Lainey as Dolly singing a rocking Christmas song. Is that an actual Christmas? That seemed very...
I think she actually sang "Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree."
Okay, yeah.
It stood out to me because that's not one of my favorite Christmas songs, but
yeah.
I kind of enjoyed this rendition. It's one of the best ones I've heard, I think. I liked it a lot.
It was fun, and that I seem to have a lot going on visually, too.
Yeah, I think for me, part of it was the whole spectacle of the toy parade and this cool grand finale really enhanced the song for me.
The finale of the finale involves Frosty flying on or riding Rudolph's back as Rudolph flies to the top of the tree, and he lights up as the star.
Good stuff.
Yeah. But he does mention before that, his suspicions about the bag, and then afterwards they're talking about it, and of course Santa hasn't shown up, and Frosty's worried they're going to melt, and so they go off to find the fireworks to try to stop them, but it turns out it's too late, that they're on like a single fuse of some kind, and once they start, you can't stop them.
And wasn't it like a funny bit where Frosty wants to ask her for a favor, and she's like, yeah, anything or whatever, and he's like, well, can you stop the fireworks? And she's like, oh, you picked the wrong one or something.
Right.
And then she explains why she can't do it.
Yeah, and there are like 100 of them, so there's a countdown. This other stuff's going on. And Frosty's kind of, he's blaming himself for this whole mess, although, honestly, I don't know why it's his fault.
No.
It's not. If anything, it's Crystal's the kid's fault for badgering him into it. I mean, really, it's Winterbolt's fault, but...
Yeah. I was a little disappointed in Santa Claus for not being there. I mean, I know there were external circumstances, but as Lori pointed out, Santa Claus is awfully reliant on Rudolph to get around.
Yeah.
Maybe too much so.
Maybe he needs to invest in a headlight or something.
Yeah, I think this incident exposes some major flaws in Santa's system.
Yeah.
Some potential vulnerabilities.
That's another one of the spin-off specials, is like the elves at home, like one of them. But Santa, we could just put this electrical light on there. And, no, it's got to be Rudolph. He embodies Christmas spirit. Anybody can have electricity.
I hope this encourages Santa to think differently, because he really let Frosty down in this one. I hate to say it. I mean, I love him, but
it's summer. His brain is not firing on all cylinders.
And I'm missing. It's really Winterbolt's fault.
It really is. Yeah.
I shouldn't be blaming Santa Claus. Winterbolt is the one that caused all this. Otherwise, Santa would have been there, I'm sure, with time to spare.
Right. Well, none of this would have happened because Winterbolt wouldn't have been there to put dumb ideas in people's brains. Of course, the circus would have folded. If it does, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it will in this. Then Winterbolt arrives, but he's still playing like he's a nice guy, sort of. And then Lily finds out the money's missing because she was going to hand it over to a real cop. It seems like Rudolph explained to them what happened off camera, but then there's this whole thing where he can't explain what's going on. So I'm not sure about that. But Winterbolt's sleigh is flying in, and Rudolph's like, that's not Santa. And then Winterbolt pretty much reveals who he is finally, and says that he can make the amulets work as long as Rudolph's nose remains extinguished. And Rudolph tries to light his nose, but he can't because he did something evil with it. He stole money.
Yeah, and apparently intent doesn't have anything to do with it.
Apparently not.
Which is, that's kind of harsh, but I guess that's the way it is.
Right. That seems like if you're conned, I don't know.
Yeah.
There should be some leeway.
Some leeway for coercion or...
I guess magic, there's no nuance in magic.
No, there isn't.
And if he clears his name, then they'll melt. So Rudolph confesses to the crime that he didn't commit, and then he goes off to live in the LA underground.
Yeah.
Get hired for missions. And most disconcerting of all to me was Crystal shames him. She doesn't want her children associating with it.
Yeah.
A reindeer who steals.
I was glad watching this with Lori. She was providing a feminine point of view, and she was disappointed because she said a lot of the women in this they're not really the most likable characters because they seem very quick to judge everybody. Lily, Crystal, Lady, I can't blame them.
No.
But it stood out to her. She was disappointed how everybody was quick to kind of condemn things.
Yeah. I mean, I think in that particular case, the circus people have a right to be that.
Yeah.
But Crystal, come on, this is your husband's best friend.
Yeah.
you know him.
Yeah.
Something's going on here.
Right. I mean, Milton's the one who makes the kind of impassioned defense, like, there's got to be something going on here. It just doesn't add up.
Right.
And it really doesn't. I mean, why would Rudolph go to this, elaborate thing? Well, you know what? I was going to say, why would Rudolph go to all the trouble to save the circus just so he could give the money to somebody else? But in the list of elaborate plans, that would be like fifth or sixth in this movie. I guess that could happen too, but I like the fact that Milton Powell. We don't see a whole lot of Milton here, but he's a really decent guy, and he can't believe that Rudolph did it. I like that.
Yeah, and Frosty's he knows what's going on, right? But he can't talk about it either to protect his family. Both of them are kind of caught in classic rock in a hard place, or rock candy in a hard.
Yes.
But there's a moment where all the villains are celebrating.
Yeah.
And then Winterbolt and Scratcher go back to the North Pole. You see the next circus performance, and everyone's booing Rudolph, and everyone just hates him.
Yeah, that was sad to see.
Sad Rudolph is pretty sad. like, I would say in terms of sad, like, puppet characters, Big Bird is the tops.
Yeah, okay.
But Rudolph, he might be top 5.
He's got to be a contender. And yeah, I mean, we get a real maudlin song coming up
Yes.
here, too, that lifts him up in the rankings, too.
Yeah, it's so sad. He's like in his little dressing wagon or whatever, and like all the newspaper clippings he has on the wall just fall off.
Yeah, it's like everybody's abandoning him. Like, even people that aren't in this special.
Yeah, inanimate objects.
Like, there's a note from Clarice, I think, that falls off the thing, and like
Right.
some kind of like good luck or something.
Yeah, she doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
Maybe word has already gotten back.
Oh, God.
Scratcher got on the reindeer phone.
Yeah, spread the word.
But, Frosty's ruminating. He's trying to figure out a bargain he can make with Winterbolt to save Rudolph. And the genie explains to Winterbolt that, Frosty's hat is full of magic, too. And it could prove valuable. And then Frosty the Snowman plays, and they show a stop-motion version of his origins.
I really like that.
I did, yeah.
That was cool to see that retold in the animagic technique.
Yes. And then the genie's like, imagine you could reproduce the magic, and get this horrifying idea of Winterbolt creating an army of snowmen.
Yeah.
Which I like wrote down in my notes before he said it. I
Yeah.
was like, and then he actually said army of snowmen.
Yes.
He's gonna take over the world with snowmen.
Right.
Awful. And all he has to do is to lie to Frosty. So he puts the idea in Frosty's head that I'll trade my hat for Rudolph. And Rudolph's still, feeling sad, and the Northern Lights reach out and speak to him and tell him to be brave, and his magic will return.
Yeah, and at this point, Frosty's kind of forgotten about his family a little bit, or at least put them aside. He's like, say goodbye to my family for me, will you?
Right.
He doesn't even go say goodbye to them.
Yeah, I guess he just can't face it.
Yeah, there might be some real... You talked about that shame he feels, that he
Yeah.
feels a little unjustified, but... yeah, he just is so ashamed of himself that he can't face them.
Maybe he knows he's such a soft touch, too, that they'll talk him out of it. Crystal, just sing that song again.
You know what? I think you're on.
You don't need to go help your jerk friend.
Yeah.
Stay with us.
Yeah.
We could be part of a circus now. We're never going to melt.
Right. Yeah. I was a little disturbed by that, how quickly he was to do that. But don't get me wrong. It was a noble sacrifice by Frosty. I admire that.
Yeah. And Big Ben, the Clockwork Whale, who we've mentioned, who's from Rudolph's Shiny New Year, just happens to be swimming by.
Yeah.
Or he followed the Northern Lights, too. So some divine intervention. And he talks to Rudolph about things and says he's going to go to South America for some help. And then Frosty exchanges his hat. And he doesn't melt. He just turns into snow. Inanimate snowman, which is sad.
Yeah.
Especially seeing all these characters react. Like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And Rudolph chases Winterbolt, and then he has to fight the snakes, and then he knocks over Winterbolt, and the hat flies out of his hand and lands on Rudolph's head, and his nose glows again. He's got his magic back.
Yeah, that's good to see.
He was brave.
Nice little action sequence there.
Yes. And everyone is mourning for Frosty. They're the next day, and they're standing around him, and Sam has apparently fired everyone. But then the police officer Kelly returns the money, and Rudolph returns the hat, and Frosty, happy birthday. He's back to the land of the living, and Rudolph and Frosty sing for a couple of misfits, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they really embraced that number. I don't want to say that they made it their own, but they made it competitive with the original version, didn't they?
Yeah, and I don't think I had really paid attention to the lyrics in a long time, because I was really enjoying the rhyming of misfits and nitwits.
Yeah.
But then Winterbolt is like, no, I'm not going to be defeated. And he holds up his scepter, and Lily throws her gun at it and breaks it, and he turns into like this hideous tree.
Yeah, that was really
Disturbing.
Really ghastly. It was.
Didn't something like that happen in the Leprechaun's Christmas Gold?
Oh, with the witch.
Witch?
I think you're right.
The
Yeah,
Banshee or whatever.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't tie this into that.
No, not directly.
No.
There might be a way somewhere, but and then Ethel Merman, after that transformation, she just goes, "What an exit!" Which I was not expecting, and just the way she said it just really made me laugh. Ever the show person,
Yeah.
This Lily is.
And because he's gone, the storm clears up and Santa arrives, but now the whole family has melted. And that's really sad, too.
The magic that was keeping the Winterbolt's magic was keeping them from melting, and now that's gone, and Rudolph says, "Oh boy, I hadn't thought of that." It's understandable with so much to keep track of in this
Yes.
plot. that detail had slipped his mind. I can't blame him for that, but it is sad. That's really
And just, I can imagine that everyone's like, that guy just turned into a tree. And it's an ugly tree. We don't want that tree.
right.
And there's these 4 pitiful puddles with hats on them.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking.
So what they need, because only a Christmas or a December wind can turn Frosty into a snowman or bring him to life, and which is established, of course, in the original special, I think. And but that's where Big Ben, he knew that, so he went down to South America where it's winter, and he picked up Jack Frost because Jack Frost is busy causing problems down there. Brought him back, and Jack Frost blows, and he restores them to their rightful snow. Although at first it was a little confusing. Like, I thought he had only partially restored them. Like, at first you just see their heads.
Oh, yeah.
And then their shoulders or something too, but then someone says, "Oh, let's dig them out."
Oh.
So they're buried in the sand.
Oh, okay.
But it seemed like they were kind of forming, growing from the ground.
Yeah, it was a little bizarre, but I really got a kick out of this cameo by Jack Frost from one of the, maybe fair to say, the lesser-known Rankin-Bass specials.
And he's a little bit of a troublemaker in that one, right?
Yeah, I thought he's a bit of a rogue in that one. I haven't been watching that one on a regular basis, so I'll have to revisit that to kind of see his backstory.
A trickster.
Yeah. But in this one, he's a benign presence for sure. Maybe just the overall genial nature of Big Ben talked him into doing the right thing. Maybe.
He probably thinks snowmen are cool.
Yeah.
He likes snow so much.
Maybe he's like the Loki of this. Like, he's kind of a tweener.
Right.
Like, depending on the circumstances and what he's doing, he can work both sides sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, he's ultimately going to cause Christmas Ragnarok, but
yeah, yeah, Christmas Ragnarok.
But he also causes a lot of good things. That's the other thing. He knows that his destiny is to cause the real end of Christmas. This winter bolt stuff. He's like, anything to stop that guy.
Yeah.
He's stepping on my territory.
That's a good point. Yeah. I like the idea. I think you've hit on something there. Like, if the Asylum ever got a deal to make movies for the Hallmark Channel, Christmas Ragnarok would be the result, probably.
Yes.
And I'd probably watch that.
And, Rudolph says he's going to stick around for a little bit to help the circus get on its feet. But it turns out Santa has given Lily some magic feed for the animals, and now they can all fly.
Yeah.
So then they have a flying circus parade. And Ethel Merman sings Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
She does. And one other little thing that really made me laugh is that the family's kind of asking Frosty if they can stick around, and be part of that. And he just kind of, enough's enough.
Right.
He's like, no, we're going home. And when we were watching it, we were kind of like, yeah, we agree with you. Enough's enough. Why put yourself in jeopardy again? I think Laurie said that this is one of the first times a character made a really good decision in quite a while in this movie. And she's right. It was a good decision.
You just went through melting.
Yeah.
Do you not get it at this point?
Yeah. And I really enjoyed Ethel's version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I did too. I know her more by reputation and Robin Williams impersonations than anything else.
Yeah.
She did what she did pretty well.
If anybody's made for circus, parades,
yes,
bombastic holiday pageantry, it's Ethel Merman. So I think they hit it out of the park casting her in this.
Yeah, I hope she enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, here's something weird. And I actually, apparently it's not just in like the DVD copy that I was watching, but did you know no Rankin-Bass logo at the end of it? And I believe on I think maybe the Wikipedia page or something, or the IMDb, in trivia, it mentions that there's no Rankin-Bass logo. Now, how can that be? It was very disconcerting to me. Like, I was sitting there enjoying it and expecting to see the Rankin-Bass logo, and it didn't show up, at least not on the copy I saw, which was kind of left me just a little bit incomplete.
Now that you mention it, yeah. I wasn't looking for it, so I didn't notice that. That's...
Well, I should point out happen to be wearing a shirt that has that logo on it right now.
Right, yeah.
So I was disappointed, but
maybe I just assumed it was there.
Yeah, well, it's possible. I mean, it's because I think most of them, they'll put the credits up front, like a long credit sequence, and then they'll just end kind of abruptly, and that's what happened here. But
this did have some end credits, like the technical aspects were playing. Well, I don't know. Maybe they were rethinking that idea.
Yeah.
Maybe just 97 minutes was the tops they could go.
Yeah.
There was no room for 2 seconds.
Yeah, otherwise the magic would expire. The animagic.
Right, yeah.
Would no longer work.
That's exactly it. You've reached the pinnacle of this. Can't do it anymore.
Well, if that's what it takes to preserve the power of animagic, then I'll happily make that trade off. But
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed.
But as we said at the top, this really does bring together a number of these specials in a way.
Sure does.
So obviously Rudolph and Frosty,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Frosty's Winter Wonderland.
Frosty's Winter Wonderland, and Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yep.
For sure. And I would say, too, Year Without Santa Claus. Now, I don't remember if the mixture voices Santa in that. I think he does. But some of the elves, or the Kringle elves, look a lot like the couple of elves, Jingle and whatever, Bingle or whatever.
Yeah.
The other one is the ones that go down to the south.
Yeah, I think you can throw that in there. And Shiny New Year, like you said, Jack Frost.
Yeah, shiny.
Yeah, it's an impressive accomplishment, and really a lot of effort went into this. And I guess Romeo Mueller again. Man, I mean, it just packs so many things about this, like origins of things and histories of things. I mean, it's really amazing, just the effort that went into this. I mean, maybe it didn't take a lot of effort, but it sure seems like it. That there's just it's so dense with this mythology of this universe.
Yeah, it makes me think Jeffrey Scott was taking notes.
It's possible.
Maybe he interned with Romeo Mueller or something. Romeo Mueller. So here's just put as much in as possible.
Yeah. Well, and I've joked a couple times about like the length of this. I do think it would have been fine maybe as like a 75-minute thing, but I heartily recommend this to everybody. I think it's really good. It's worth seeing at least once. Maybe it's not the kind of thing you need to see every Christmas, but I think it's a worthy continuation of all the specials that you mentioned, and it fits right in there with all of them. I think maybe this might even be like the last gasp for the whole golden era of Rankin-Bass. After this, you'd go into the 1980s, and the production would change. But to me, this is a pretty cool thing. It ties everything together. It has enough Christmas spirit. I really liked it.
I think your enthusiasm about it has made me more enthusiastic about it than I was 15 hours ago when I finished watching.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I think even the songs were good. Like some of the style of certain types of music in this that maybe don't stand out as much to me, like in maybe the early Santa Claus ones. Because of like the performers in this one, and I also think the songs are a little bit. It seems like the songs. There's a lot of songs, but they're not a lot of real long songs. So you get different ones. You get the classic holiday favorites. You get the recurring ballad, the All I Ever. You're Everything I Wanted, and the Ethel Merman numbers that are, to me, very entertaining and totally in keeping with everything else. So I think it's a winner. The atmosphere, and as we discussed also, like technically, the animation was really good in this, and some of the ambition, different effects, and different types of characters and threats. Overall, now, the story is a little bit convoluted, yes, and there's a lot of things where you might stop and think, why would Winterbolt need to do all this? A lot of things are dependent on other things happening and these kind of chain reactions of things, but, hey, doesn't bother me. I liked it a lot.
All right. Well, happy Christmas in July.
And to all, a good August. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a little thrown off, I gotta admit. It'll take us a while to get into it, but.
And if you want to continue celebrating Christmas in July, you could do that at our Facebook group where we discuss
July. We discuss TV, of course.
TV, yes.
In the 70s and 80s. I'm sure there's some good July episodes we can talk about.
Yeah, or maybe Christmas episodes in July.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can celebrate all kinds of things all the time, really, not just in July, not just around Christmas. But yeah, come join us. It's very easy to come in. We'd love to have you. And if by chance you don't do Facebook, you're missing out on the group, but you can always get a hold of us through email by emailing mailbag@battleofthenetworkshows.com. And you can give us feedback, tell us what you'd like to see on the show. Right now, we're pretty much locked in, I think, for this current season. But although we do have a poll in progress for one episode coming up through the Facebook group, but we're always taking suggestions and always looking ahead to future episodes, as we mentioned at the top, talking about Lucille's suggestion for a future episode. So come join us. We'd love to see you in the group, or you can email us and let us know what you'd like to see. This episode brought to you by the Seaside Circus. She sells seashells at the sea. Hey! This episode also brought to you by Christmas in July, the second happiest time of the year. This episode also brought to you by the Leprechaun's Christmas Gold. Looks pretty cleanly plotted now, doesn't it? Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.